Andy Roddick silences Coco Gauff's critics with a bold claim about her biggest weakness. I want my serve to be a real weapon, and it is in some moments, but being a weapon more consistently is what I want, Coco Gauff admitted after her China Open loss to Amanda Anisimova. Even after teaming up with sports performance specialist Gavin McMillan to reforge her serve, inconsistencies lingered. Yet as she lifted the Wuhan Open trophy, Gauff carved her name into the record books, becoming the first Open-era player to record over 400 double faults in consecutive seasons. Still, the spotlight shines brightly, with Andy Roddick stepping in to defend her, making a bold, positive claim about her evolving serve. Andy Roddick recently weighed in on Gauff's game during his Serve podcast, pinpointing what he finds most puzzling. It feels like we're always negative, and then she just wins stuff. It's weird in a way because everyone criticizes Coco, and, in a way, you should. It's weird to see someone who is 2 or 3 in the world double fault like she has and go through those kinds of mental demons, even though we weren't supposed to call it that at the US Open. But I think it was, he said. Roddick elaborated on her overall game, noting both strengths and inconsistencies. I think there are technical deficiencies. The forehand comes and goes, and also, I don't think she gets enough credit for when the trajectory on her backhand is straight through the court, and it can bruise you with this flat ball, and then mixing up this forehand and then slicing forehands, and she's able to kind of bring your level down, he explained. He highlighted that even when opponents underperform, Gauff's tactical intelligence and versatility make her a formidable challenge. Everyone talks about the Roland Garros final and goes, well, Sabalenka didn't play that well. She doesn't just not play well just because, there's a reason for it. Coco knows she can rely on her legs, she knows she can mix up paces on the forehand. When she's going right, that is very, very tough to deal with. When she's not missing that shot, it's very tough to deal with, Roddick added, emphasizing her ability to dominate matches through strategic play, even when her signature shots fluctuate. Turning to her serve, Roddick doubled down on his support, noting the potential he sees in the 21-year-old. Coco wins a Masters 1000 and it's like we don't talk about it when she wins. For me, I do think, and maybe I'm in the minority right now, but I do think Coco will be a dominant server at some point in her career. I know I'm redundant at this point, but I've seen it, the ability is there, it will click, she's only 21. He said, drawing from his own experience as a top server. The former US Open winner believes that once her serve stabilizes, the rest of her game will flourish even more. When that comes around and clicks, the forehand will get better. We tend to get better as our career progresses, especially with our weaknesses. She's 2 and 3 in the world with 2 shots that come and go week to week. There is a place to criticize them right now, but in my mind, when those 2 things get 20 to 30% better, she's going to be a real problem. She's been top 3 and a champion with those deficiencies, he remarked, reinforcing the idea that her potential remains immense. Now, as the WTA Finals approaches, Gauff is set to defend her title, entering the tournament as a formidable contender despite recent scrutiny. However, the landscape has shifted slightly, as fellow American Amanda Anisimova, fresh off a China Open victory, has emerged as a heavy favorite, adding an extra layer of intrigue to the season-ending showdown. Coco Gauff matches the rare Williams sisters' record in Wuhan. After her Wuhan Open triumph, Coco Gauff lit up Instagram, radiating pure post-victory energy. The 21-year-old shared a carousel brimming with pride, each image echoing the joy of a hard-fought triumph. One standout story was a repost from Tennis Channel, captioned, "Coco joins some elite company trophy," featuring a collage of her alongside Serena Williams. The message was clear: Gauff had become the first player since Serena to win 9 consecutive hardcourt finals, chasing the legendary 12-match streak set by Serena from the 2013 US Open to the 2015 Cincinnati Masters. Another story showcased a fan post reading, "An elite company's media dark skitto handshake," with Coco pictured beside Venus Williams. That image carried weight, cementing her place alongside Venus as the only Americans to capture the Wuhan Open title. The moment was a vivid reminder of history and legacy converging in real time. In the locker room, Coco reflected on the journey with humility and insight. That's just how tennis works, she told a fellow player. It always happens when you don't expect it. For her, it is that elusive spark when every element of the game aligns perfectly on the sport's grandest stages. Yet, as always, Gauff's narrative is one of resilience and electricity. Every ace, every rally, every surge forward on the court tells the story of a young American chasing history, determined to finish the season with a flourish while proving that the spark she ignites is here to stay. Tennis has always been a sport of whispers. Fans, analysts, and former pros trade opinions like volleys, each trying to define what separates greatness from good fortune. And few players today ignite those conversations quite like Coco Gauff. She's young, dynamic, fiercely athletic, and already a Grand Slam champion. Yet, for every admirer who praises her grit and charisma, there's a critic waiting to dissect her game, zeroing in on what they call her biggest weakness. For years, that label has been stamped on one shot, her forehand. Commentators have scrutinized its looping motion, opponents have targeted it, and headlines have framed it as a flaw that could hold her back. But this week, one voice rose above the noise, that of Andy Roddick, the last American man to win a Grand Slam and one of tennis's sharpest modern analysts. And his words didn't just defend Coco, they redefined the conversation. The interview that sparked a debate. It began during a segment on Tennis Channel Live, when Roddick was asked about Gauff's form ahead of the WTA finals. The host, gently prodding, mentioned how pundits continued to question her forehand consistency despite her recent dominance on hard courts. Roddick leaned back, smiled knowingly, and delivered what would become one of the most talked about quotes of the season. People keep calling Coco's forehand her weakness, but if that's her weakness, we're watching a future legend. Because what she's doing with that so-called weakness is something 99% of players couldn't dream of. The studio went silent for a moment, as if everyone was waiting for him to elaborate. And Roddick, never one to mince words, did exactly that. She's 21. She's already won a major, beaten world number ones, carried the pressure of a nation, and she's still improving. Her forehand isn't broken, it's evolving. What people call a flaw is actually part of her adaptability. You can't fix what's winning you matches. Turning the narrative upside down. It wasn't just a defense, it was a reframing. Roddick, known for his own thunderous serve and aggressive mindset, recognized something familiar in Gauff's journey, the constant tug-of-war between perception and performance.